Welcome to Dan the Cleaning Man channel, where we help you build and grow a successful commercial cleaning business. Whether you're just starting out or looking to expand, we provide expert tips, step-by-step guides, and proven strategies to help you succeed. Subscribe now and join our community to stay ahead in the commercial cleaning industry.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to Dan, the Cleaning Man channel. I have a special guest. He's been working in the janitorial business for about 17 years. Made a huge transition initially, but he has got a plethora of stories and experience that we will dive into. But Brad, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself and we can get started.
Very good. Thanks for having me on, Danny. My name is Brad McNabb, and as he mentioned, I've been in the industry about 17 years. It was a transition for me. Prior to that, I was an operations manager. I was actually the quality control manager for a fulfillment department with the Washington Mutual. So it was quite a change for me.
Good deal. And then when you made that transition, what company did you go into on janitorial wise?
I went to work for one of the larger janitorial companies. Originally, it was SBM, Summers Building Maintenance.
Okay.
And I spent a good period with them, with a couple of breaks where I made some transitions, for personal and growth opportunities. But that's who I started with.
Okay. And then how long was you with them?
Well, total close to 12 years.
Wow.
With a couple of breaks in between. I worked for a couple other companies. Yeah, they were very loyal to me, and
yeah, I mean 12 years, and then that was more focus on single tenant facility. Would you say?
Yeah, facility larger. Anything from 150,000 to 1.5 million square feet. Manufacturing was a big part of what they did.
Wow. Wow. So you got a huge amount of experience in regards to that. So, well, good deal. Go ahead, Brad.
Oh, I was just going to say that, at one point in time, I was fortunate enough to be able to manage about 5 million square feet of space for one of the larger semiconductor manufacturers. That was a great learning experience.
Well, yes, I'm sure it was. They kept you on your toes there, I'm sure.
Absolutely. Day and night.
Yeah, day and night. And then you had we'll get more into it, but you had to utilize a different finish at them companies, a non-static finish on the floors, right?
In some areas, yes. Within their manufacturing clean room spaces, the common areas in which they had 600,000 or 700,000 square feet of hallways with VCT. That was your pretty standard floor finishes we did. But it's a trying job to cover that much territory, on an annual basis. So very challenging for the staff, the frontline people that actually did the work.
Absolutely. And then I guess when you get into the labs, that's where the non-static finish and all that stuff you had to utilize because that makes a huge difference there. Yeah.
Correct. Yes.
Well, good. All right. So I guess my first question is, what is the biggest challenge you face when scaling from managing a single tenant to multi-tenants? Because I know you were with them 12 years, and then you've been in the multi-tenant world.
That's correct. While I say that, I did have some experience in the past with one of the larger type single tenant accounts, but it was more set up like multi-tenant. And I'm referring to one of the, a large medical university where I was responsible for everything from classrooms, common spaces to different labs, different clinics, and it was very similar to the multi-tenant type atmosphere, and just so many different key contacts. So that's what I think kind of helped me with my transition. because I'd already I've been in that situation where I had multiple relationships. I had my primary uh, facilities managers that I communicated with, but uh, working with the doctors and department managers and things, that kind of gave me a little bit of a head start, if you will. But the multi-tenant, as you and I know, it's very different. And I think one of the things there is, as long as you work closely with, get to know, build, and develop that relationship with the property management, the rest of it kind of takes care of itself. It's important to have a good relationship with those individual tenants and understand what their needs or nuances are of their suites. But that was the biggest change, just because there's so many different businesses or types of industry, actually, I guess you could say, in some of these multi-tenants. Some of them have a lot of medical, some of them are lawyers, therapists, it's very, very different from that standpoint. But I actually enjoy, all those different relationships.
It's very diverse. You got different perspectives, different standards, different expectations compared
Yes.
to what your normal single tenant thing. And would you chalk that up as being the biggest the biggest differential between the two?
Yes, I would. And when you're dealing with a large scale single tenants like I was referring to, it's really different. It's there's not as much. I don't know. I don't want to say you don't have a good relationship with them, but it's very no nonsense. It's you don't develop that kind of friendship like you do with the current multi tenant that I deal with, because you actually get to know your property managers and develop good strong relations, and that's very, very important to your success, quite frankly. But just a little different. That's all.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Well, good deal. That's good information. So, going into my next question, how does their approach maintaining cleanliness and efficiency change when managing multi properties at once?
Well, as I learned, you gotta have a schedule. I'm not always the most organized person. My desk is not always perfect and clean. But utilize the technology resources. You have to have a calendar. You have to be in these buildings, on a consistent basis, whatever that schedule may be, just so you know what's kind of going on at all times. You got to feel good about the staff that you have working in those, and of course that meaning the labor partner. You have to have good relationship with the partner that you have in the site, and have be confident in them and their abilities. But also you have to be there. You have to go in at night. You have to see. You have to watch. You have to be involved in the operation, so that they understand what the scope is, what the expectations are, what my expectations are. But and utilize your partner management and supervision to help you deliver, the message and lay out those expectations.
And then you're managing a little different. And what I mean by that, you brought up labor partner, and go to the rest of the audience. He's referring to independent contractors. You got some janitorial
Yes.
companies that utilize the direct hire piece, and then the others that are trying to
Yeah.
scale their business are utilizing the independent contractor side of things, and they're able to scale faster uh, doing that. I mean, you're working with multiple personalities within that as well, in different teams, right?
Absolutely. And in some cases, in many cases, you have language barriers, and of course that's true with the direct hire, but you've got different small companies, and yes, it's a multitude of different habits and personalities and just kind of ways of doing things, which keeps you on your toes.
Absolutely. um, what systems or processes do you implement to ensure that quality across multiple clients? What do you do? I mean,
Well,
what kind of
you first of all, you have to understand, you know, what their scope of work is, and that's key. And you have to know that your customer that you're working with understands that scope of work, and you're both on the same page. You need a good feel, as I mentioned, for the staff. Along with developing relationships, you have to have a comfort level. Understand their habits if at all possible, and just a strong level of confidence, in people that you are working with, the independent contractors, at each location, because I've got multiple locations and I've got multiple partners that I work with. They're all very, very similar, but they all have their little, needs or their little quirks, uh, nobody's operation is 100% perfect, but it's just important to know all of these things. And like I said, understand that scope, make sure that they understand the scope, as I mentioned earlier, and just kind of keep everybody on the same page at all
does
times.
you does your calendar help you out in regards to managing the quality assurance?
Absolutely. Again, it goes back to that scheduling.
Yeah,
I've got many, many of my customers that I'm set, and I walk with the actual property management or facilities manager. Uh, Not all. Some of them don't want to be involved and don't feel they need to, and I believe that means they have confidence in me in what I'm doing for them on a
absolutely.
daily, weekly basis. But yeah, the schedules change, things come up, but there are some that it's just very, very important that you adhere to. And you do your walks, you mix them up. You don't do the exact same thing every time. And communication. When you're done, just kind of let them know what you found. What your thoughts are, and get their feedback. And if they have any particular things that have come up throughout the last week, that I might need to, focus on or address with the team.
Yeah, keeping them updated. I mean, that's the key. What's going on in their building, so you
Yes.
know, you're trying to take that janitorial
Yes.
business off their plate, and you're their right hand
Right.
man in regards to that. So that's good feedback. So,
Mhm.
can you share a time when you had to solve a significant operational crisis across multiple locations, and how did you handle it? Because you got to, I mean,
Well, well,
your
I do
facility
have.
falling apart.
Yeah, there is some distance between them, and fortunately, in the last couple of years, I've not had any real significant disaster type situations that have come up. But I've had the event where, a couple of different buildings after a bad rainstorm, they had flooding, that required, you know, getting some resources to them quick here and now, and again, uh, you want to respond, you want to help them out any way you can, and get people on side as quickly as possible. And the good thing about that is I can do that because I do have the relationships. That they have the trust in me. I have the trust in the resources that I have available to me to get out there on site. And as long as you have those good, strong relationships on both sides, the customer as well as your partners, it makes life a lot easier. I can't be at all locations at all times. I do my best, but you got to start somewhere and kind of split your time. I can tell you of an experience going back to when I was at that large medical university. We had the bad ice storm. I guess this has been 3 or 4 years ago.
Yeah.
And in that case, I had 18 million square feet, and I can tell you, out of about 18 buildings, there was not one that went without broken water pipes that I mean did significant damage. And those were 18, 20, 22 hour days for almost 6, 7 days, you know,
Wow.
uh, and just the fact that I had a good, strong team to be there for us, it was significant. It took a lot of daily planning, and communication with the facilities group. It was, but again, you have a good support team. You have a good team in front of you that works with you. I mean, they're the ones that do it all. They make things count. I'm there to organize and uh, boost the morale, if you will. But yeah, that was very significant, and I've just been blessed the last couple of years not to have any real difficult challenges with regard to disaster within multi-tenant facilities.
Well,
I
and
want
I
to keep
think
it that
that's
way.
yeah, no, absolutely. And I think that serves to how you're managing your accounts. You're instead of taking a reactive approach, you are taking a proactive approach to with quality inspections and so forth. So, and that's kept it calm the most part. Yeah, you're going to have these one-offs, but it certainly serves you
Right.
best to do that. Yeah. All right. And then what advice would you give someone looking to scale their janitorial services from small to single tenant building to multi tenant property? What's your feedback on
Well, I
that?
mean, in that case, I need a little time under your belt. You need to have done single tenant and work, just to kind of break the ice, if you will, get your feet wet. Um, you want to do that changeover? That's fine and dandy. I want to support them any way I can and help them do that. But it's real important that they make sure they have the actual tools, volume of tools, and the job and the staff. Two people can't clean five buildings at night. You have to start it to develop your small company and already been recruiting, putting people in place, having them ready on the bench to go. Just hopefully, I would encourage them to make sure they have reliable staff and train them. Good training. I think that's vital as well. Reliability.
It's huge. It's huge. Yeah, absolutely. All right. And then how do you balance the needs and the expectations of different tenants while maintaining your operational efficiency? Did I lose you?
Yeah, they locked up on us there
Oh,
for a
uh-oh.
second.
That's all right. And how do you balance the needs and expectations of a different tenants while maintaining operation efficiency?
Like, again, it kind of goes back to the initial relationship you have with the property manager or the facilities manager. Um, but with the multi-tenant, they're your key factor. They're the ones that if you have the relationship, they have trust in you. But it's also important to have and develop. Like I mentioned it earlier. I hate to repeat myself, but the key contacts, within the suites or the multiple tenants is important as well. But just that initial relationship with your property manager, I think is key. Because they'll support you um, you know, with the scope of work when you may have some of the smaller tenants that are questioning, what you're supposed to do or questioning something that we don't have on the scope. That if your property manager's there and you have the relationship, they will back you. They will support you and help you communicate. What we do or do not do according to their expectations.
And man, that's a huge thing, Brad. I mean, if you don't have that relationship and they don't trust you that you follow through and get the job done, you know, then you won't have a partner to go in there and fight the fight. Um, I
Right.
mean, it becomes a challenge because you're fighting two on one. Then
Yeah, and unfortunately, I've had experience with some property managers that were not as I don't know, responsive or trusting, but some of them kind of the glass is half empty. It's never half full. Um, but that's a very small percentage. I think I've been very, very successful. I think it's my personality. It works for it. You know, developing and getting to know that person. Taking the time to listen to ask them about their family, their weekend, whatever it is. Find common denominators, common interests. And that really helps. It goes a long way with building that trust.
100%. 100%. Absolutely. All right. So going in and moving into technology, what role does technology play in our day-to-day operations now, especially managing multi-tenants? Did you hear that first part? So what
I
role
didn't.
does
I'm sorry.
no, that's all right. What role does technology play in your day-to-day operations now, especially when you're managing multi-tenant?
Uh,
It's huge, isn't it?
well, it plays. It's a large portion of what I do on a daily basis. Technology. I mean, I remember back before I was in the industry. We didn't have mobile phones, cell phones. We had these big box computers. Microsoft computers, and basic email and a facsimile machine. But no, now the phones. We rely on them so much, and it helps me. You wouldn't be success. I wouldn't be able to do everything I need to do without phones and the applications. I mean, I use the phone for my text, direct phone calls, email all day long, and then the applications that I have and use for the inspections. Vendor update. Things of that nature. It's what makes the world go round these days, and it's utilized 100% every day. If I'm in the office, the one-on-one communication is one thing, but I'm usually out and about, most days. So yeah, the phone and the access to email and all the different applications that we use, Zoom call, you name it. It's the biggest part of my day. I mean, other than the personal contact, at the actual job sites, facility sites.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
It keeps the
it'll never end.
communication.
It's just gonna keep changing and getting better.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely. And especially when AI is coming around the corner. So hopefully that helps with the productivity of
Yeah.
things. So what's the most surprising thing you've
Yes.
learned about multi-tenant that you didn't anticipate when you first started?
Well, it's funny when I think about it. It was actually easier, than I anticipated. Yeah, I had some apprehension, because based off the volume of tenants. I mean, it's one thing if you have 5 sites and they each have 5 tenants. It's a whole nother thing if you've got 5 buildings that each have, anywhere from 20 to I've had buildings that had 100 plus tenants.
Mhm.
It's it could be quite nerve wracking. But as far as the communication is, I was surprised at how easy it actually was. But again, the challenge for me was just starting and learning to the building those suites. You meet with the tenants and understand what type of space you're dealing with. Some are more challenging than others, you know. But I was just surprised at how well I did transition, and I think it goes back to some of the larger customers I had dealt with in my previous experience. I was kind of prepared for it, if you will.
Absolutely. Oh, and that single tenant world, like you said, it was a little bit more challenging working with them guys one on one every day
Yes.
because you saw them every day. and it certainly helped you transition over. So that's good. So you was more pleasantly surprised how uh, proficient it was.
Pleasantly surprised. Yes, that's exactly right. That's yes, 100%, 100%.
Okay.
I actually kind of enjoy it. So
Different. Well, that's good. That is definitely good. So, how did you keep your team motivated to maintain a strong work culture and where they're spread across several locations? Because like you got seven, like I said, you're very diverse groups, teams, English, Spanish, um, yeah, just kind of you're all over the map when the individuals that you work with.
absolutely. Again, sorry, Danny, locked up. Are you there?
Yeah, I got you.
Oh,
I
okay.
got
I
you.
think you were asking about how to keep the team motivated.
Yes. Yes. Yes,
Uh,
sir.
Again, that's just getting out there and being engaged with the front line. The day porters, I deal with them a lot more than I do the nights, quite honestly. I mean, the job is primarily in the days, but when you do have that opportunity and you take that time and you schedule that time to get out, in the field at night and get sport side by side and observe these guys, you gotta, first of all, I want to thank them for the hard work that they put in. There's nothing easy about what we do. Um, and the sheer volume alone, it's hard on them. So just showing that appreciation is motivating. Recognizing when they do something well, when they go above and beyond. Um, I like to, whether it's a pat on the back, whether that's a occasional gift card or something, buying them lunch or dinner, I should say. But I also think a key thing into keeping the team motivated is you gotta treat them with respect. Okay, like I said, they're the reason for success. They're the ones in the front line that are out there doing the job, and I don't treat them any differently than I would anybody else. I mean, I'm quite capable of getting out there, and I've done it. I've cleaned toilets, I've scrubbed bathroom walls, I've stripped and waxed floors side by side with them, and that's the only way that they learn that hey, this guy's for real. He's actually done the work. He knows how to do it, and sometimes that also leads to them, respecting you more and listening to more of your direction, and accepting it with ease. It's
Absolutely. You getting your hands dirty. Get in there and get after it with them. Just, we're all a team here trying to accomplish the same goal and keeping the
it's
customers happy. So 100%. That's great feedback, Brad. Great feedback. So, getting into our last question, what one piece of advice would you wish you have known earlier in your career that could have had made the transition in janitorial, single tenant to multi-tenant? Um, what what would you say that piece of advice would have helped you?
well, honestly, I in the past I had some habits of just trying to, and part of that comes from some of the positions that I held. I was trying to do so much on my own. Uh, keep the temperature down, keep things quiet, keep the rumble down, if you will. But what I did, somebody advised me a whole lot earlier, was you got to use all the resources that you got available to you. Whether that's your counterparts, e- even staff that report up to you. And I've been in those positions where I had managers under my watch. Bouncing things off of your coworker, your reports, and most of all, though, utilize the resources your management, my manager, if you will. Uh, don't be shy. Don't try to be quiet about things. Don't try to take on the monster by yourself because you're going to need you're going to need all the support that you can get, because sometimes, it's just not easy. You'll have a bad week, a bad month, with a lot of challenges. And if you truly don't know how to handle something or you don't know how to address it, reach out and get feedback from others. And don't shy away from those people that you report to, that your managers. I mean, that would be my biggest piece of advice, because once I started doing that on a consistent basis, it was like a load off my shoulders.
Yeah.
I felt more engaged, right? And I truly felt supported and understood, if you will. And if I was doing something wrong, I got the advice I needed to correct it. It's just simple. Open communication and utilize the people that work around you and with you. Don't try to do it by
100.
yourself.
Yeah, 100%. And listen, I mean, you brought up a great point there, is that um you know some individuals will tend not to react to you as good as if you got somebody else into the mix. And then there's a analogy, you see it in car sales, right? You got your rep. He's taking care of you. He's trying to sell that car to you, and then he can't close the deal. So what usually happens? You have the sales manager come out, give a different, perspective and insight and so forth.
Right.
And I'm not saying manager or not, just a different individual coming to them in the mix that can bring a different perspective from their viewpoint. So, and then the
Right.
additional support is it's a huge deal. Reach out if you don't know. Reach out and ask somebody that's been down that road before and kind of guide you. So yeah, that's very valuable insight there. All right, well, good deal. Well, Brad, I want to thank all the audience. Yeah, I know we've had some technical issues throughout this process, but I want to thank Brad for taking his time out of his Sunday to spend some time with me, and then provide some feedback for all of y'all. His experiences, the 17 years from single tenant to multi tenant. There's just a wealth of knowledge there, and so if I work closely with Brad, so if anyone has any questions for Brad, don't hesitate to leave a comment, and I will follow up with Brad and have him respond to that comment. But again, thank you all, and thank you, Brad. I really do appreciate you stopping what you were doing on Sunday, especially with the family, and spending that time sharing your experiences. So, with that said, I wanted to thank everyone for joining us on Dan the Cleaning Man channel, and we will talk to y'all later. Keep it clean.
Thank you for watching Dan the Cleaning Man channel.